Welcome to Mind the Major, where I say use your mind, don't lose your mind, don't get left behind, become a mind. We family over here.
Get your ass off the couch!
So today I want to talk about this news about the singer David. All right, young guy, 20 years old, had was basically thrust in a superstardom, if you will, for merely creating music to go to Fortnite montages that he made because he was actually using other music and was receiving copyright strikes. So he started making his own music to avoid copyright strikes so he could make some money. And the music that he ended up putting in these montages, the music blew up to the point songs was ending up on Billboard. You know what I mean? So of course that happens. Labels come in, right? He ends up with a label deal and he's out of there. You know what I mean? But I want to start. It took me a couple of days. I took a couple of days. I seen the story, this, that, and the third. But I said, I didn't know who the guy was, to be honest. I didn't know who the guy was. And I see his name isn't really, unless you Google him or go on Wikipedia, his name isn't actually spelled David. It's D4vd, right? I mean, it's David, but this is how he spells it all, you know? So when I seen it, I didn't automatically think David, right? I'm I'm kind of crafty with acronyms myself. So when I seen it and I seen the four in it, I saw the four in it. I was like, what does that stand for? Does it stand for down for venereal diseases?
That's who said it.
I mean, I ain't know. I mean, I'm just thinking the whole thing was may have been an acronym, because I use them. Sometimes people call me acronym slim. You know what I mean? But that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? But before I get into this whole thing, it's gonna be an interesting video. So I'm gonna ask you to conquer your fears right now and press that like button. It look like this. You know what I mean? And after you do that, press that subscribe button as well. And that's gonna make you feel a little better about yourself. And after you do those two things, after you do those two things, top it off. I mean, leave a comment, right? Anyway, this guy's David, right? From Houston, Texas, right? I'm not going into the whole thing or whatever. To be honest, when I went through my notes or whatever, his actual name didn't stick with me. But if you put in D4vd, you're going to find it. And yeah, I can't do it all for you. You know what I mean? But anyway, he was actually born in Queens. His family moved to Houston, Texas, right? Now, what I found interesting is that after the seventh grade, he was homeschooled from the eighth grade through 12th grade. So I just started thinking to myself, like, man, you taken out of school at seventh grade and homeschooled, and you don't have the interaction like that with other kids your age. You know what I mean? Because those years right there are formidable years. That's where you really gain your pretty much your identity. You know what I mean? So I'm saying, I'm like, and then you go from that to being basically a self-proclaimed nerd. You know what I mean? To being thrust in the spotlight, basically like overnight, right? So I'm looking at it like, and he seemed to be, when he spoke, he seemed to be intelligent. You know what I mean? He seemed to be fairly intelligent. You know, from what I saw, he grew up in a decent household. Mother, father, younger brother, and younger sister. You understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's a maturity thing. You know what I mean? Think along the lines of you're taking out a school at 13. So your last social growth, so to say, your social growth stopped at that point, right? Because you're not being social like that. You're not in social settings like that, other than with your family for the most part. So now when you're thrust into the limelight like this, and now you're performing for thousands of people, and I ain't got to spell it out what come with the industry. You know, you have groupies, you have people falling out, and you know what I mean. Now there's this awkwardness. You know what I mean. You now by this time he's probably like 17, 18. So now it man, you, you been if you've been 17 or 18 before, I ain't even got to spell it out for you. You know what I mean? Them hormones kicking in. So now you, you want to do this, you want to do that, but socially, you aren't even socially equipped. I'm gonna just say socially equipped to go and speak to, conversate. Let's say conversate with a 19, 20-year old female, a woman, right? Let's say a woman. Imagine a 13-year-old, right? Imagine a 13-year-old trying to book a woman, right? And this is what I'm getting. This is the vibe that I'm getting, right? This is the vibe I'm getting. So you have to basically learn how to act like this 17, 18, 19, 20-year old person that you're growing into, right? As opposed to the socially stunted 13, 14-year old, right? So David's name was thrust into the news cycle after about a week or so ago. A Tesla that was registered to him, right? That had his name on it, you know what I mean, being registered to him, was found in Hollywood with a dismembered body in the trunk, right? Now, at the time when the Tesla was discovered, David was on tour. He's promoting his new album. You know what I mean? So he's on tour. So they went, did their thing, and come to find out, they made a positive ID of the person that was found in the trunk of the car, right? Come to find out, the body that they found in the trunk was the body of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas, right? Who had been missing for a year, for the last past year, right? She had been supposedly missing, right? Now, of course, then they said they identified her by a tattoo she had on her finger that read "shh," like so, like "shh." You know what I mean? S with three H's, right? Now, just so happens the singer David has the same tattoo on his finger, right? So you know how the internet get. They got the same tag. It's his car. Oh, he did that. Then it don't make it any better that his genre of music is emo, right? He does emo music, which is short for like emotional, emotional. You know what I mean? So automatically, you know how the internet do. Digging up stuff, they finding videos with him and her and the videos together, this, that, and the third. Now I'm not saying at all. I'm not saying at all that I condone, right? That I condone at all. In no way, shape, or form, right? A 20-year-old being involved with a 15-year-old, right? Because that means, okay, he's 20 now. Okay, he's been bubbling for the last 4 years. So at the time you started garnering some fame, this kid was probably like 11. You know what I mean? Talking about somebody that was 11. And I try to find out when he actually moved to LA. I couldn't pinpoint exactly when he moved to LA, but I'm going to just use the timeline that I got, whereas though she was missing for a year. So you say she was missing for a year, so that means 14. So he just turned 20, so 14, 19. You still out of pocket. You still out of pocket, bro. That's statutory. You know what I mean? If you violate, that's statutory all day long. So you out of pocket, and ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know what I mean? But I started thinking like I seen one of the videos he did. He was doing an interview and he was talking and he was saying that, man, I couldn't have thought about this basically in his wildest dreams. He felt like he would never get out of Texas, right? So imagine you just emotionally, you know what I mean, stunted individual, right? Now you thrust into the limelight and now you're in LA, right? Basically, you're a kid, you know what I mean, in LA. I can't see him being sent to LA by himself, right? I can't see him being sent to LA by himself. I don't know who was there with him. I can only imagine that. I'm not sure if his mother or father went with him or who went with him. But I'm it would kind of I just don't see him being a socially awkward person that he is, that he didn't have somebody there basically watching over him, you know, some form of handler, you know what I mean? Some you LA, from Houston to LA, and you're not even a social type person, you know what I mean? It's just not it's just not reading right to me, you know what I mean? And I don't want nobody to think like I'm saying that, oh, I don't want nobody to think that I'm saying anything, you know what I mean, about his parents, you know what I mean, or anything like that, because from what I've seen, it was it was the ideal family setting. You know what I mean? You had both parents in the home, you church going, you know what I mean, church going family. You know what I mean? It was the ideal family. So I'm not gonna say that the parents was at fault or anything, because I'm more than sure, just looking, seeing what I seen from the family, I'm quite sure they probably didn't even let him move out of the house until he was 18. So I doubt it very seriously if he was even in California before he was 18. You know, and once he's 18, basically you have no say. of the moves he's making. You know what I mean? But either way, there had to be a handler. You know what I mean? It had to be a handler somewhere. You know what I mean? But anyway, he had basically in 22, like I said, he had started putting music in these fortnight montages that he was making. He came with two singles, one Here With Me and the other one Romantic Homicide. Romantic Homicide was the one that shot him up out of there. You know what I mean? That was 22. That's when he ended up signing the dog from Interscope. I mean, his debut album didn't actually. I mean, he put out a couple EPs between then and the dropping of his debut album was dropped this year in 25. You know, but the whole time he was going up. You know what I mean? He was going up. You know what I mean? There was no decline, and you know what I mean. So you can imagine during that time, it probably was a lot of people that became attached to this movement. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people probably was attached themselves to this movement and was dependent on him continuing to go up. So let's just say for I don't know, just shits and giggles. Let's just say you got an emotional 14-year-old that you shouldn't even be around. You know what I mean, really? But you the bag. You the bag. You know what I mean? So basically, no, if she go, I'm not making no music. Now you could be saying something like, no, that's my muse. She go, I'm not making no music. So what would you think gonna happen? What you think gonna happen? We gotta get this album together. Let us stick around. Just keep an eye on. Come on. Let's just be real. Let's be real about the situation. It was a bag. It was a bag at stake. You know what I mean? So far as him actually doing the deed, me myself, I don't think so. I don't think so. Not at all. Not at all. And here's why I'm gonna say this. Because had you did this, right? Had he did this, you think with his schedule and like I said, you think he didn't have a handler or someone close to him? You know what I mean? Him being in a strange place or whatever. You don't think him being around this person, then all of a sudden she's nowhere to be found? You think it wouldn't have been even if you know what I mean something crazy happened, going to the extremes of dismembering the body, placing the body in my vehicle, that I'm attached to, and dropping the car off in the Hollywood Hills, right? Dropping the car off in Hollywood. Then I heard the craziest thing about it, say when the car was dropped off, the music was some kind of eerie music was left playing, blasting from the vehicle, right? All night. All night, this the same music was blasting from this vehicle, right? Until somebody called in the morning and the car was towed away. Now, if you were him, I mean, just like I say, shits and giggles, just simply shits and giggles. If you was him, right, and you had did this, you would want to be as quiet as possible, right? Why would you leave the music blasting? Just hearing that made me think like, well, whoever left the vehicle there wanted her to be found immediately. You know what I mean? Figured somebody's gonna call the police about the car being there. When they come, they're gonna search the car. They're gonna find her immediately. But it didn't happen like that. How it didn't happen like that, I don't know. Because I'm like, if the car, I don't drive a Tesla, so somebody can let me know. Can the car be turned off? Can the Tesla be turned off and the radio be still playing? I don't know, right? But it made me think like, well, damn, the person left the key, or they hot, or was the car hot wired, or did they steal the vehicle? You know what I mean? Was the vehicle stolen and just left there running? You know what I mean? That's something. It's just not reading right to me. You know what I mean? Then you're out on tour. From what I'm hearing, he's cooperating with authorities, but he hasn't been arrested yet. You know what I mean? That leads me to think that they looking elsewhere. They don't really actually think he did this. You know what I mean? Well, it was his vehicle. It was his vehicle. He had to. Oh, no, anybody could purchase a vehicle and put it in their name, and someone else be driving the vehicle. You understand what I'm saying? You could buy your child a vehicle, and the vehicle be in your name, but it's your child's vehicle. It's the vehicle that your kid drives. I haven't heard anything about him having more than one vehicle, or whether he could have a fleet of vehicles, and that be just one of the vehicles that an assistant drives or whatever. Who's to say? You know what I mean? That could be the assistant's vehicle that they get around in. But I'm gonna just play devil's advocate for a minute. You know what I mean? And just like I say, play devil's advocate. What would make somebody do something like that, right? You catapulted to basically superstar status, basically overnight. Bam. You know what I mean? And it really wasn't no intent in you doing this. It just happened. You know what I mean? It happened, but now it's on. So of course you want to keep it going because there's a lot of people now basically putting the battery in your back because they looking for you to kick back. You know what I mean? So just say, because they were saying they think that you got people saying, "Oh, she must have been pregnant," da 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 da, making up scenarios basically of why this would have happened. And let's just play devil's advocate for a second, right? If he did happen to get the girl pregnant, right? I don't think he would have did that. You know what I mean? I don't think he would have did that because you already violating, you putting yourself at risk just by the action. You putting yourself at risk. You already out there. You know what I mean? So why would you go do this? If anything, you know what I mean? It's just not reading right to me. It's not reading right to me. I could see somebody else doing it. I could see somebody else doing it, and she's getting ready to destroy everything. She's gonna destroy everything. You know what I mean? I could see something like that happening, but then I thought, then I seen another video or whatever where some guy was speaking to her brother, and then they say something about another guy or whatever that she had dealt with, and then that guy ended up getting whacked out. You know what I mean? He caught the lead flu. He ended up catching the lead flu. You know what I mean? Was out of there, and but now she ends up being out of there. So I'm like, well, it could possibly be have something to do with that. If he's gone and she's 15 years old, was she driving his vehicle? Was she allowed to drive his vehicle? You know what I mean? Could she have been driving that vehicle and been accosted? You know what I mean? And things went left from there, or who's to say? But if you let the internet say they gonna paint everybody guilty. As soon as your name hit the news cycle, you guilty. I mean, they're gonna dig up. Here's when he sharpened his pencil in pre-K without the teacher's permission. He gotta be guilty. You know what I mean? Come on, stop it. I just don't see it happening. But the thing that strikes me most is the fact that how can your 14-year-old, 13, 14-year-old child be missing, but yet the brother said that he was having communications with her. How can she be missing and somebody's having communications with her? You know what I mean? So you're just saying, well, she's okay, so it's cool? Hell no. Hell no. Man, I be having somebody track down with the device that she was calling from or texting from, and we gonna get to it. It's yeah. You know what I mean? But something just not reading right to me. Something's just not reading right to me, man. I just don't see. And then with the way people are today, man, people are try to attach themselves to anything for monetary gain. You know, go ahead, maybe hoping. And if this not the case, then it's not the case. You know what I mean? But I'm saying there's been cases of people putting their daughters, you know what I mean, lining their daughters up with people that they should have never been with. You know what I mean? If you're on an age spectrum, they should have never been around them people just to line that person up because they saw that dollar sign.
Cash money.
Yeah, thank you, OG. You know what I mean? Which is crazy. Basically, pimping, you know what I mean, your own child. If that's not the case, let it fly. I'm just speaking in general. It's something just not sitting right to me. Now, like I say, the fact that he's not arrested yet leads me to believe that he's not their strongest suspect. You know what I mean? And there's so limited information that's come out that I don't see him being the suspect. I think it's going in another direction. You understand what I'm saying? But it's going to all come out. It's going to all come out. It's going to all come out in a minute. In a minute, it's going to all come out. But they was I saying something that say that the medical examiner ruled it a homicide. You think you think it's a dismembered body? You think? I'm quite sure they didn't think she cut herself up and got in the trunk. You know what I mean? But anyway, you might have some people out there that actually consider that an actual event. It could have possibly happened. I don't. Come on, man. Come on, man. We ain't even gonna do that dance. You know what I mean? But anyway, it was. You know what I mean? Y'all just got to slow down. Y'all just got to slow down with the internet detective work. You know what I mean? Y'all got to stop painting people guilty before they even have a day in court, before they even get arrested, get charged with anything. Y'all got them guilty. Y'all done sentenced them to a life sentence, and they ain't even been booked yet. You know what I mean? Like I say, I'm not here trying to spin a narrative one way or another.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Well, maybe I am. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just saying something just ain't sitting right with me. You know what I mean? But you got a whole comment section there. If I'm way off, Speak your piece. You know what I mean? Speak your piece if you feel like I'm way off. You know what I mean? I'm kind of off. Yeah, I'm kind of thrown off. I admit that, but if you feel like I'm way off, speak it. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I might come back and revisit this after more information come out. Before I slide, don't forget, great minds think alike. Everybody got greatness in them. Just never know when somebody's gonna come along and pull that greatness up out of you. So till next time, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, share. It's your boy C Major. 2 in the air.